Our next speaker is Caterina Lazzarin, and she is Italian and comes from Venice, where she originally studied the conservation of cultural heritage and the history of art. She's specialized in contemporary art history, and in particular, she's focused on art mediation with the aim of finding new strategies to connect publics and art. And as well, she's worked for a long time in the fields of art education, community engagement, and museum accessibility, as well as thinking about the social role of museums, something that I think is very relevant not only to the institution Museum Oberwald, but also to many other museums across the world right now. She's going to be talking about Italy as a Fluxus center. So let's welcome Caterina Lazzarin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to be here today, and tomorrow I will join the conference live. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer, the technical support, and the translators for their work. Thank you so much for your commitment. So today I would like to talk about the Fluxus experience in Italy, with a focus on the contribution of the gallerist Rosanna Chiesi. I would like to make a premise first. In Italy, interest in Fluxus is still alive, and in 2022, there were many events to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Fluxus. So in Italy, Fluxus is a very nomadic artistic movement, moving from one city to another, just as the artists themselves move from one discipline to another, experimenting. In different studies, the diffusion of Fluxus in Italy is defined as a constellation, as many different stars in a single sky, tracing different but connected paths. The concept of diversity in unity returns very often studying the Fluxus movement in Italy. It has been theorized that Italy has been a suitable territory for the spread of Fluxus, also because Italy itself presents unity in diversity, a sort of anarchy from a geographical, linguistic, and cultural point of view that allowed Fluxus to flourish. Since 1963, Italy has been crossed by concerts and group and individual exhibition of the movement. I say 1963 because in the summer of that year, Mr. Fluxus took a long trip with his mother to Italy. He had a huge trip in mind, almost like a grand tour journey, and with an artistic and a little bit manic attitude, he decided to plan the trip in an alphabetical order, from Ancona to Volterra. From that moment, thanks to his testimony and his enthusiasm, Fluxus artists from all over the world began to experience Italy and make art there. At the same time, Italian gallerists began to know Fluxus and were impressed by it. Specifically, many Italian art experts went to Documenta in Kassel in 1972, and this date marks the first real official exchange between Fluxus artists and Italian gallerists. Italy became in the late of the 70s, sort of a second home for Fluxus artists, which began to be very much supported by Italian collectors, publishers, and gallerists. In this constellation, often called by the artists themselves Fluxus Peninsula, the brightest stars are the galleries and the collection of Gino Di Maggio in Milan, Francesco Conz in Asolo, Luigi Bonotto in Vicenza, Peppe Morra in Naples, Caterina Gualco in Genoa, and Rosanna Chiesi in Cavriago. What is surprising about this Fluxus constellation in Italy is that there are both large cities like Naples and Milan, and small towns too. So gallerists in these small towns were pioneers, and they often conflict with a very close and traditionalist society. For my talk today, I chose to focus on the figure of Rosanna Chiesi because she is an extraordinary Italian example of a woman working in the art field, in the 60s. She is defined as a publisher, gallerist, and promoter of avant-garde, but these labels do not tell enough about her personality. She was a very globe-trotting gallerist, and her galleries moved between Reggio Emilia, Cavriago, Rome, Capri, Berlin, and Japan, thanks to her latest passion for Butai artists. For Rosanna Chiesi, art, work, and life were totally the same. There was not even a division between her work and her private activities. As a gallerist, she managed to combine aesthetic taste, curiosity, and a strong personality. A lifelong art lover, she came to the world of art galleries thanks to a friend who asked her to open together an art space. She bravely accepted, but the family reactions to her decision were not as expected. Specifically, the reaction of her husband strongly against her decision, so much that he soon granted her a separation. Rosanna, however, did not give up, despite the norms of being a good wife in the 60s in Italy. Her desire to be independent, have her own dream job, and travel was stronger than everything else. And in 62, she opened in Reggio Emilia her first gallery, Il Portico. In April 69, she took a trip in Germany with a friend, and she met Joseph Beuys in Düsseldorf, where she was visiting an anthological exhibition of him. Chiesi remembered always this moment as a fundamental one to her career, and for everything she did in the future. In 1971, she decided to become an art publisher, and she founded the publishing house Pari e Dispari in Reggio Emilia. From that moment, Chiesi's homes, before in Reggio Emilia and then in Cavriago, became important meeting points for artists and poets who spent evenings discussing and making art plans between dinners and ping-pong matches. In particular, her kitchens have always been the focus of her activity as a publisher and as a gallerist. The numerous dinners she organized have saw the birth of ideas, projects, exhibition performances, and festivals that would later mark the careers of many artists in Italy. Artists from Italy and from abroad, who at that time were still unknown. In addition to producing art edition, Pari e Dispari began participating in international fairs, such as the Fair of Düsseldorf and Basel. It was precisely during these art fairs that the encounter between Rosanna Chiesi and Fluxus took place. The first artist she met was Joe Jones, who is followed by all the others. Studying the programs of these international art fairs in the following years, one can see that Chiesi had already achieved a certain importance and was already working with personalities in the world of contemporary art. Alongside her work as a publisher, she also became an events, festivals, and exhibitions manager. In over 50 years of activity, rare editions, exhibition, events, performances, installation, and concerts have been produced under the name of Rosanna Chiesi. These activities attracted hundreds of avant-garde artists, such as leading representative of Fluxus movement, visual poetry, Viennese actionism, and contemporary photographers. Speaking about festival, I must mention Tendenze d'Arte Internazionali, so international art trends, the first of a long series of festivals. It was a widespread festival, at that time extremely avant-garde. Performances were organized everywhere in the city of Cavriaco, in people's homes, in garages, in the main squares, in the streets, even in the church tower. These performances included also the first live Fluxus collective concert in Italy. The event has a great resonance, a great success, but obviously there were people in favor and others against. During the concert, for example, many spectators were calling out the name of Giuseppe Verdi, the Italian opera composer. Rosanna Chiesi, in response, the following year organized another festival, Musica, Performances, Poesia, lasting 8 days and with 100 artists, and it was a great success. It was during this festival that Rosanna Chiesi's most important collaboration with Nam Juan Paik was born. In 1990, Chiesi organized the largest exhibition of the artist in Italy. Here we can see a picture, a photo of the opening party in which Rosanna dedicated to the artist a cake in the shape of an empty television, reproducing one of his famous works. In the 90s, Rosanna Chiesi began, thanks to the offer of some friends, to manage Malaparte's house in Capri. Casa Malaparte is a private villa that has always been a private villa, but also an important place for culture. Casa Malaparte is certainly one of the most important chapters of her career. She started to live there, and the entire island of Capri became her own private art gallery, inviting artists and for residencies, exhibitions, and performances. Over the years, Rosanna traveled a lot, mainly to visit artist studio. And in 2000 and in 2002, she also decided to open two galleries in Berlin, Pari e Dispari project, and later Art in Progress. And from the very beginning, these two galleries presented very active programs. After the death of the founder of Pari e Dispari, her daughter donated to the Panizzi Library of Reggio Emilia something very important. Throughout her career, Rosanna had in fact produced albums of photos that documented her activities with shots of exhibition, festival, events, performances, trips, or simply dinners with artists at her home. All these materials have comments and funny notes made by Chiesi. These 54 albums are a fundamental testimony not only of the work of Chiesi, but above all of the art scenario in Reggio Emilia and in Italy in general, from the 60s to today. In this sense, they are fundamental testimony to the Fluxus experience in Italy. The legacy of Rosanna Chiesi is currently available online, free of charge, and accessible to anyone, thanks to the Panizzi Digital Library, which has in fact digitalized the contents of the albums. Many albums are dedicated to the Fluxus movement in Italy, and in particular, album 50 and 51 are dedicated to female Fluxus artists in Italy. I would like to conclude with a wish that Rosanna had. She wanted to realize a project that unfortunately she was never able to realize, and which she described as a Fluxus-style project. The idea was to create a sort of an open-air museum among the people of Cavriaco in collaboration with the city. So citizens would have hosted the artworks in their homes, becoming the truly guardians of the artworks, continuously increasing the collection without the need to build museums or special buildings. And also in this project, Rosanna Chiesi considers arts and life to be an unicum, to be experienced by everyone. And I think this is an interesting way of thinking for all cultural institutions. Museums can really work for helping people, visitors, citizens, to feel themselves as a part of a great project of culture and art preservation, making art a natural and relevant aspect of their life. Thank you so much for your attention.